You know that feeling when your creative flow's ready to go, but your setup just keeps slowing you down? Whether it's exporting videos taking forever or apps just not syncing the way you need, it gets real frustrating, real fast. Today, we're getting into Windows and macOS for content creation. Which one actually makes your work smoother, faster, and easier? We'll break down built-in tools, workflow, multitasking, and how each one holds up when it's crunch time. If you're a video editor, designer, or digital creator trying to pick your setup, this is for you. Let's talk about what each system hands you the second you open it, because as creators, we don't always want to go hunting for extra software just to get started. On macOS, you fire it up and you already have iMovie sitting there. Now, sure, it's not Final Cut or Premiere, but for putting together a quick highlight reel, a fast YouTube cut, or even slicing up an Instagram video, it's way more than just a toy. Same thing with GarageBand. We've used it to lay down voiceovers, mix in music, test podcast segments. It just works. You open it and start building your track. There's also Preview, which might sound like a small thing, but when you're constantly checking images, PDFs, and exports, it actually makes a big difference. You don't have to load up a big app just to look at a file. It's snappy, and it does more than you'd expect. Now flip to Windows, and yeah, it's a little different. You've got a built-in video editor too, but it's more basic. If you're doing something quick and light, it'll work. But honestly, we usually find ourselves heading straight for third-party apps. Windows doesn't throw creative tools at you up front in the same way, but it does give you freedom. You've got wider compatibility with creative software that's been around forever. Stuff like older versions of Adobe, weird plugins, niche editing tools. If it exists, there's a good chance it works on Windows. So the Mac kind of gives you this curated creative toolbox right out of the gate, while Windows says, build your own kit, and depending on your style, either one can be the better way to go. We've used iMovie to throw together a travel vlog on a plane, but when we're sitting down in the studio with a plan, we usually open Premiere on Windows with all our plugins ready. Okay, so once you've got your apps, how do these systems feel once you're deep in a project? If you're the type of creator juggling 4K video footage, After Effects compositions, multiple audio layers, and maybe a color grading pass in DaVinci, this part matters a lot. We noticed that Windows File Explorer is just more practical when you're dealing with tons of assets. You've got quick access for fast jumping, pinned folders for your project roots, side previews, and even tabs now. It's way easier to bounce between folders, reorganize your files, and keep all your assets visible. If you're knee-deep in raw footage, you'll appreciate how quickly you can dig into a camera folder, copy things over, rename them in batches. Just feels faster. macOS uses Finder, which definitely looks cleaner, and it does handle previews well. That's honestly one of our favorite things, but the folder navigation takes more clicks. There's a bit more guesswork, especially when you're just trying to jump around quickly inside a big client folder. That said, both let you run multiple desktops, and if you're like us, keeping one space for editing, another for browser references, and a third for voiceover work, those gestures on the Mac do feel really smooth. But on Windows, even though it's more keyboard heavy, you know exactly what's going on. It feels like you're driving it with intention. So if you're constantly moving assets and organizing projects, Windows feels more structured. But for flipping between creative modes and getting in that flow state, macOS has this fluidity that just clicks. Let's be real, no creator is using one app at a time. You've got Premiere open, Photoshop on standby, maybe OBS running, Spotify in the background, and you're still switching tabs for reference videos or chat responses. This is where Windows multitasking really shows up. You can snap windows into place just by dragging them. Hover over the Maximize icon, and you get layouts. It lets you build a creative workspace without having to resize everything manually. And if your screen is a mess, just grab a window and shake it. Everything else minimizes instantly. Mac has something called Stage Manager now, which tries to do something similar by putting grouped windows off to the side. It's interesting. Sometimes it helps. Other times it just gets in the way, especially when you're trying to quickly drag assets from one app to another. And yeah, you can split screen on Mac, but you've got to go through the green button. Wait for it to slide over. Honestly, it just feels slower. We've had sessions where we're animating something, flipping between Photoshop and After Effects, and on Windows, it feels like you're working with a full-on control center. On Mac, it feels calm and distraction-free, but sometimes that means less control. Now, let's say you've got files scattered. A client sends a last-minute asset, and you need to find it now. Both systems let you search fast, but the way they go about it is a little different. On Windows, you've got that search bar right in the taskbar. You start typing and it gives you files, settings, web results, apps, everything. It's not always perfect, but it's super accessible. macOS has Spotlight, which is actually more powerful in some ways. You hit Command plus space and it just works. Need to find a font, open a file, even calculate a frame rate? It can do it. But the thing is, it lives in your keyboard shortcuts. If you don't know they're there, you might never use them. So if you're the kind of creator who loves quick access keyboard flows and custom shortcuts, Mac might actually feel tighter. But if you're more visual and want a click and type setup, Windows feels more familiar. Now, here's one of those things we didn't think mattered until we started using it every day. If you're on a Mac and using an iPhone, iPad, or even Apple Watch, it all kind of works like magic. You shoot something on your phone, AirDrop, you get a text or call during an edit session, it shows up on your Mac. You want to review an Instagram reel from your phone and tweak it on the desktop? The new screen mirroring in macOS lets you see and control your phone right from your Mac. We've used that to adjust captions, check TikTok layouts, things you'd normally need to pick up your phone for. Now, Windows has Phone Link, which is honestly getting better fast. With Android phones, especially Samsung, you can view notifications, drag files, and even open mobile apps right on your PC. But for iPhone users, it's more limited. You'll see messages and calls, but you don't get that same full-circle workflow. That's something Apple nails. You don't have to think about it. It's just part of how everything runs together. Alright, one of the newer things we've been playing with lately is built-in AI. It's not a gimmick anymore, it actually helps with content creation. On Windows, you've got Copilot baked in now. It's basically like having a writing assistant, research buddy, and coding helper right inside your OS. We've asked it to summarize scripts, draft video titles, write outlines, even help with setting up OBS scenes. It feels like you've got an extra brain during crunch time. macOS is starting to bring in its own version of this through Apple Intelligence, and Siri is evolving, but it's not quite there yet. Siri can still send a message or set a timer, but for real creative support, it's just not built for that yet. If you like bouncing ideas off something that's always there, or need help adjusting a line of script while editing audio clips, Windows Copilot makes a real difference. It's not perfect, but it's already something we reach for during long editing sessions. So look, we've said it before. We're not here to pick a winner and crown one system the best of content creation. That's just not how creative work works. If you're someone who leans into visual storytelling, loves that focused workflow, and already lives inside the Apple world, macOS just clicks. It's smooth, the tools are polished, and the integration with your phone or iPad makes it feel like one big creative studio. But if you're someone who needs control, who wants access to everything, who runs multiple apps, uses older tools, or just likes to build your own perfect setup, Windows gives you that flexibility. It might not look as pretty, but it lets you work your way.